Welcome to Brews and Boxing. Boys, we're back. Another week. I'm your host, Raider Live. With me, as always, is Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Go Lakers. Go LeBron.
Well, it's better than the Yankees talk of last week. I'll give you that.
Wait till the end
of course, with us, I'm cutting you off there. I'm going to bust out the mutes early now on this one. All right, now we got the mute up there already because we didn't have to hear about the damn Yankees again. And also with me, as always, is the Judge, Jimmy James. Judge, how you doing?
I'm good. Go Loons.
Go Loons. All right. You going to behave yourself now, Rich?
We'll see.
Probably not. All right, boys. Just a quick little note here. I want to point out that we did change our filming dates. We are now filming on Thursday nights and uploading to Fridays. So our news will actually be right pretty close up to the date for all of our fans out there. So we won't have that 2-day delay anymore. So we do it all for you guys. We love you guys. Please tune in, subscribe, do all that stuff. Boys, let's get right into the news. All right, Brews and News. First thing we do when we do Brews and News, we got to pop a brew because that's what we do. Hey, that even rhymed. So, gentlemen, cheers.
Cheers.
I'm spitting rhymes today.
I'm going to join Adrian Broner and with your rap career.
Hey, we'll probably do the same amount of business. He probably has the same amount of subscribers for his rap career as we do with our channel at the moment. But also, first bit of news that we want to talk about here is a thing that everybody's talking about in the public, so to speak. Not so much in the professional boxing world, analysts like you guys, but the public is talking about the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. exhibition coming up here. And we did get some news drop this week about some of the rules that if there's a cut, it's going to be stopped immediately. There'll be no judges. It's going to be, I think, 8 rounds, no headgear. It's starting to sound more like it's just going to be a sparring session without helmets. But we did have a poll on the Facebook page, the Raider Life Facebook page, of who you got in this fight. Please vote on that. It's still up there. And Filthy Rich, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., the exhibition coming up. And by the way, when I look at it, it seems like Tyson doesn't feel like it's going to be an exhibition, but Roy Jones is kind of thinking it's going to be. Like Tyson's taking it more seriously. That's my impression anyway.
Not sure if I was throwing a question there, but here's what I can kind of say. I heard that there was going to be headgear because this is not a sanctioned fight, and being that it's an exhibition fight, this one should have the headgear. I'm pretty sure Mike Tyson has said there's going to be headgear, and Roy Jones has said that there was going to be headgear, both on ESPN.
They said this was 2 days ago. I saw that they both signed off that they weren't going to have it. They were going to have 12-ounce gloves and no headgear. Is what I read. I don't know if they changed that. So it might.
Well, they were both on that popular ESPN show, and they both said that I thought they said that there was headgear. I don't know if that's a big deal or not, but it's a charity event, so. We're going to Jimmy James's house. We're going to eat up his food like we discussed several weeks ago. I'm I don't know if I'm supposed to be hyped for it. I guess I am. I want to see it. The undercards should be like sanctioned fights. So I don't think they're going to be good fights. I think the YouTube star is supposed to be fighting.
Which one? Jake Paul.
Oh, him.
He's the same guy who fought the other British boxer, or the other British YouTube star. I don't remember.
Yeah, KRS-One or whatever.
There you go. Well, not KRS-One. I mean, that's. I don't want to disrespect that name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Anyway.
Or KSI or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, Logan Paul is fighting. I don't know who else is on these undercards. Probably a bunch of local guys. I bet you Roy Jones and his Island Fights. I don't know if that's a company or what, but he's probably got some guys. Maybe we'll see Chris Eubank Jr. He's training Eubank. Let's see Eubank in the ring. What are we giggling for? Let's see Eubank get in the ring. There's got to be somebody else. One of those light heavyweights, super middleweight guys he's been training. Get them in the ring. I don't know if Tyson's training anyone. Maybe De La Hoya gets out there. Who knows? But it's a charity event. Everyone should go buy it. It's running at $50 last I heard. So
Right.
take my money.
Well, that's the other thing too, is you kind of get what you pay for sometimes when you get a discount like that. You know, I mean, normal fights are like $100 to get, and if they're offering to you for 50, it's not going to be, you know, it's not even going to be a judged fight. So there's not even going to be a winner unless there's a knockout or somebody throws in a towel. So, I mean, I don't know. I was excited when it first came out. I've lost my enthusiasm for it. I mean, I'm happy that James is going to save some money when we come over there to watch the fight because, you know, and eat his food. And I have a brand new game that I texted you that we can play that. That'll be kind of fun. But James, what do you think about Tyson versus Jones? The hype, is the hype going to match up first off? And is it just going to be a letdown that people are realizing that these guys in their 50s probably aren't going to have a fight that aren't in the same weight class, by the way, either?
The longer this goes on, like you, the more my interest is just dropping. It's more and more rules. It's just silly. I feel like this is just going to be a McGregor Mayweather fight. And that was, at least they had other boxing matches that we could watch on that undercard, but I'm you know, Logan Paul, YouTube, and some other, I think the other guy is, oh man, he's like I think he's not a washed up basketball player, but something like that. He was an ex NBA player or something like that. But I'm just not, the more and more rules I keep busting in on this, the less and less I'm getting excited for it. I was the same with that. Kind of excited at the beginning, and now it's just,
It's probably going to just look like their training sessions, except live. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like right now. It's almost going to be like celebrity boxing. You guys remember that old TV show, Celebrity Boxing, where they put basically the balloons on their arms or their hands and the giant headgear, or Tanya Harding would fight whoever was it, Joey Buttafuoco or something, you know, something ridiculous. I don't know. It just seems like it's
spot horse shack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Street
Potter. I think. No, I was thinking Willis fought somebody. What you talking about? Willis was fighting somebody. I could be wrong about that. He was on Hogan's Celebrity Wrestling, but another story. I do want to correct you on something though. They are in the same weight class. They're both heavyweights. And when after Roy beat John Ruiz, he opened up as a 2-1 favorite over Tyson if that fight would have happened back in 2001 or 2003, whatever it was. So they're both fighting at heavyweight. I'm waiting for you to ask us who our picks are.
Well, I kind of wanted everybody to go to the Facebook page to see what our picks were because we both voted in it, but I don't know if they can see what our votes are.
I thought there was like hundreds of votes in there.
You can see the percentage once you vote.
Ah, okay. But let's just say it's split in here. 2 out of 3 for Tyson. And it'll be, I think you'd be surprised who picked Roy Jones Jr. But, I mean, that's just me. And I thought Roy Jones spent most of his career under a heavyweight. Like, he just moved up to heavyweight towards the end of his career. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Wasn't he like a light middleweight and a welterweight for a long time?
No, that's pretty accurate. Moved up from, like, junior middleweight, I think, in the Olympics, all the way up to heavyweight.
Right, but I thought, didn't he mainly have his fights in the middleweight and the welterweight division of super middleweights? I mean, so that's why I was thinking that they're two different weight classes. I know he fought some heavyweight fights, but, you know, I don't know. It is what it is.
But I remember who Logan Paul is supposed to be fighting, and it's Nate Robinson, a former first-round draft pick from the 2005 NBA draft.
Oh, I'm thinking the Nate Robinson from the Dallas Cowboys.
No. So this guy played, I don't know.
Whoa.
Played at least 10 years in the NBA. So I think I don't know.
So that
was crazy.
But that's a name drop. Celebrity boxing pay-per-view is basically what we're talking about here.
Pretty much.
All right, boys, let's move on to real fights here because we got some real fights coming up, some fun fights coming up, like Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. That's going to be a fun fight. That one sounds like it's in the can, but, speaking of other fights that we thought were in the can, it sounds like Lomachenko and Lopez is suddenly off again. But we won't talk about that as much right now. We're going to talk mainly about Spence versus Danny Garcia. It'll be Spence's first fight since his car accident. Danny Garcia kind of dodged him for a while. Now thinking the time is right to get after Spence. Spence seems to be distracted by what Pacquiao is doing for some reason. And so let's just talk a little bit about Spence versus Danny Garcia. Judge, we'll start with you this time around. Throw us a little what you think about this fight coming up here.
Well, I think what Spence is just trying to do is literally wipe out boxing from the Garcias. I think he's just trying to get rid of all the Garcias in boxing.
There's a lot of them.
He's going to fight. He already took care of Mikey. Now he's going to take care of Danny. Then he's going to take care of Ryan and any other Garcia that's on that list. He's just going to keep getting them out of boxing. That's what he's going to do. I see his plan. Your plan's revealed now, buddy. I see it, Spence.
So basically, we need Crawford to change his last name to Garcia. If it's a Terrence Garcia, then we have a shot.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that might be it. But no. To be on a more serious note, that is a interesting fight for Spence to take coming back from that car accident, because I'm really curious to see how he's going to react in the ring from it. But Garcia, well, I still think Spence is going to beat Garcia, but Garcia ain't no slouch either.
He's the best Garcia of the Garcias.
Well, in my opinion, out of those three, I think Mikey Garcia is better than all three of them.
Oh.
But
Okay.
Danny ain't, like I said, Danny ain't no slouch. He did lose to Thurman, I think in his last fight, or maybe not his last fight, but he did lose to Thurman. So I mean, he's beatable, but he's got a good record. It's going to be a match that you're going to want to watch for sure. But yeah, I mean,
just to see to see if Spence is okay too.
Yeah, I really want to see, because he hasn't had a fight since it. So that's just interesting that he didn't do a tune-up fight. But I mean, I don't know. That's a ballsy move.
I won't doe the ballsy, but the other one I think we had to doe in this one. But Rich, what do you think about Spence versus Garcia?
This is probably biggest fight since the lockdown, I guess you could say. Like, to repeat, I'm surprised that there is no tune-up fight before he gets in the ring with Garcia, because Garcia is not just some gatekeeper. Like, even when he fought Thurman, I thought that was a very close fight. It could have went either way. I had Thurman winning, but I could see a draw. I could even see if someone had Danny Garcia winning. Even with the Sean Porter fight, that fight could have went either way. I had Sean Porter winning, but I wouldn't knock anyone for having it a draw. With Errol Spence already beating Sean Porter, I think he's just building up his case as to why he's the number one welterweight in the world. I don't know who Crawford is beaten at welterweight. Jeff Horn, good, but we just named like three dudes who, well, at least two dudes Errol Spence has beaten. And I think we're just going to add Danny Garcia to the list, and that should stake his claim as the number one welterweight in the world.
Well, let me say this. Since he does take these big fights, could this be a tune-up fight for Terrence Crawford or Pacquiao? Because Danny Garcia be, in his mind, the tune-up fight, that before he has the giant match with Crawford or Pacquiao.
Man, if he thinks this is a tune-up fight, that's, like I said, that's ballsy, dude.
He's that good.
Man, you are on a high horse. Man, what do you think about that, Rich?
Yeah, this is not a tune-up fight. Danny Garcia is a solid fighter, moving up from 140. If anything, like Crawford moving up from 140, the two of them should have met a long time ago.
I'm not saying it's a tune-up fight, but I'm saying, is it possible that he's looking at it as a tune-up fight because he has no respect for Danny Garcia, and I'm just going to move on, and this is my tune-up fight to not only be tuned up for Pacquiao or Crawford, but to be able to prove even more that I'm the best and I deserve to fight any of these guys, and none of them want to fight me. I don't know. Maybe it was just maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably
No, I understand what you're saying. I just don't think Errol Spence better not look over and look past Danny Garcia as if it is a tune-up fight, because that's when all hell could break loose and you might see an upset. I doubt you'll see an upset, but you never know the way judging goes these days.
Yeah, I'm curious. Who's Crawford fighting? Didn't he get announced that he was fighting somebody here too? But it was
it hasn't really been announced, but they're trying to fight. Crawford and Pacquiao are trying to have something, but
I know Spence wants Pacquiao bad too.
But that's the fight. It's Crawford and Pacquiao, but I doubt they're going to come to terms.
See, I thought Pacquiao was talking about fighting Mikey Garcia. Is that right?
That would be news to me. I haven't heard that.
I thought I heard that
fight too.
Yeah.
Let's see, I thought I had it here on my list here, just real fast.
I don't know, man. I would still I'm giving way more credit to Spence at this point because he's fighting people. He's fighting top name people. And I mean, I don't know if people think that they can beat Spence and they can't beat Crawford, or if Crawford's ducking who, but I mean, obviously I'm very high on Crawford too, but Spence is the one that's making the fights. So I got to give him credit where credit's due, man. So, I mean, if he beats Garcia here, Crawford cannot just pass him up.
Hey, Rich, I want you to mark this down, 2:28 in the morning, where Judge Jimmy James gave Errol Spence props about not dodging fights, and then kind of gave a little underhand jab at Crawford. Just mark that down. It might be the apocalypse might be coming tomorrow, so we just need to know when that happened. Hell may have frozen over.
Hey, man, whatever.
They got him speechless. All right, let's see if he can fight Kell Brook. Yeah, I'll keep bringing that up. All right, boys, let's move on to the next little piece of news here. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Actually, Richie, you brought it up early in the week.
Don't throw me under the bus.
Well, you sent it all to us, that ESPN released their list of the 25 best fighters under 25. We all kind of looked at the list, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts. Do you think the list is pretty accurate? Do you think some people should be up higher or some people got left off? I know one guy that got left off that we all agree shouldn't have been left off. But, Rich, since you're the one that sent it to us here, why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Don't throw me under the bus, Raider Live.
Oh, I just did.
I think Shakur Stevenson should have been number one on this list. For those of you who don't know, they've got Teofimo Lopez at number 1, Benavidez number 2, Shakur Stevenson number 3, Devin Haney at number 4, which I think is a bit high. He'd be the one, I think. I would have him just maybe outside the top 10. They got Ryan Garcia, Jaime Munguia in that order next, Virgil Ortiz. Daniel Dubois at number 9, I think, is a top 5 dude. He and Jared Anderson are going to 2025 are going to headline the biggest heavyweight fight we've seen since, I don't know, maybe Fury and Wilder, or if Fury and Joshua ever get it on. But that's going to be the next big heavyweight fight. That's going to be, I'm guessing, 5 years from now. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to this. Who's higher, who's low?
Well, I do notice that you jumped from 7 to 9 and skipped over my guy, Jaron Boots Ennis, my guy, who I texted you guys while I was on my business.
I never got that text.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. It was part of the meeting. We were talking about it. My guy, Jaron Boots, 25-0, 23 knockouts. Never makes it past the 6th round because he's that good. And he keeps calling out Crawford's. And, yeah, I wouldn't want to fight me either. But I think he should be higher. But, yeah, absolutely. How about you, James? What do you think about this list?
Well, we can touch on Boots real quick since we just transitioned to that. But, I mean,
my guy Boots.
if you've seen Crawford fight and then you watch Jaron fight, their style is extremely similar.
Yeah.
Even though I'm very high on Crawford, I honestly don't know who would win that, because
He's almost like Crawford clone. He does the same thing where he switches stances many times throughout the fight, and he's powerful too. I mean,
he's got power in both hands. He is the best way to describe it, a Crawford clone, and that's crazy scary because he's only 23. Crawford ain't no spring chicken. But that would be an interesting fight to see, but I doubt it'll ever happen. However, as far as the list goes, Lopez being number one, I don't agree with that. I can see him being in the top 5 for me, but number one, I don't believe that's true. I think Shakur Stevenson should be number 1. Benavidez is definitely deserving at number 2. You could make a case for him at number 1 too. Devin Haney, I still think he deserves to be up there. So that's one we're going to disagree on there, Rich. But Brian Garcia, Munguia I'd probably put ahead of Garcia, because I didn't realize Munguia was as young as he is with that many fights. That is like, I thought he was old. I thought he was 29. Boy, was I wrong. But yeah, other than that, looking at the rest of it, I personally don't have any other issues with the list. It looks like a pretty solid list to me.
We are missing your guy though, Rich. The new big baby didn't make the list.
That's Jared Anderson, right, Rich?
Yeah. Well, I don't know when this list was put together. It was just released this week. This could have been put together a month ago before we even saw what he does in the ring. Not to mention, he hasn't fought anyone. I mean, I know what I see. The eyeball test tells me that Anderson is going to be a star for years to come, but he doesn't have the resume to maybe belong on this top 25 list. Go ahead.
He doesn't belong on it, but he did get other fighters receiving votes, and he's tied at 36.
He did get votes. I didn't see it. I thought I looked for his name on there. I didn't see it.
So he is tied. He's tied on there. So he is on there. He's creeping.
Oh yeah, there he is. I didn't see him on there. Yeah, you're right.
I don't see him on here. I got the top 25. I don't see anything. I mean, this is a 25 for 25.
There's other fighters receiving votes. So.
Yeah,
I don't see any of that. If you're not in the top 25, then you're not in the top 25. and that's what this list was. That's what the title of the article was, the 25 under 25 that they release every year. And if you're not on the top 25, then I don't know. But, okay, so he's 36, you said?
Yeah, tied for 36, yeah.
And what is he? I think he's 20 years old. Next year, he will be on this list. He'll be in the top 25.
Well, I think the one thing we need to do is call ESPN and teach them how to make lists, because obviously this show makes better lists than any boxing show out there. And they didn't ask us our opinion. Where are our votes on there? I mean, I guarantee if our votes were on there, Shakur Stevenson would have been higher. And Lopez's dodging, whiny butt wouldn't be on there, wouldn't be as high on him, especially if he's not going to fight Lomo. But that's just me. I want to see that fight. I want to see Lomo win. We're on some groups. People, for some reason, don't like Lomo in a lot of these groups I've found, which is weird to me. But anyway, you guys any final thoughts about this list or anything like that, or any other news you guys want to touch on real fast?
You need to look up Edgar Berlanga.
I do?
That's all I can say.
I do, or the fans do?
Everyone.
Oh, everyone
would.
I already know about him, so.
Well, of course, you guys know about him. You're experts in the field. I mean, but,
that's it. That's all I got to say.
Is he 13 in a row? Is that right?
14.
14 in a row?
All right. So check that out. All right, guys, let's move on to our pound-for-pound list here, our Filthy Five. All right, if you've tuned in with us for the last few weeks, you know that we are releasing our pound-for-pound of all-time list. We released 10 through 5 already, and you can see that list down there, I think. I'm not sure. Last week, we talked about Harry Greb at 5. So this week, we're going to announce our number 4. Real fast, we'll go over our 10 again. 10, Sugar Ray Leonard. 9, Joe Louis. 8, Manny Pacquiao. 7, Sam Langford. 6, Roberto Duran. 5, Harry Greb. And now, we bring up our 4. Judge, where's your drum roll? It's playing. There you go. Come on. Our number 4 pick is Henry Armstrong. Henry Armstrong, congratulations, making our top 10 pound for pound at number 4. Because I'm an idiot, I had him real low at 11. I had him at 11. James, you had him at 3. Rich, you had him at 2. So obviously, I'm out of the loop as normal and ruining the list. But we'll start with you then, Rich. Let's learn a bit about Henry Armstrong in case people don't know about Henry Armstrong, because he is from way back in the day. Let's go to school here. Let's learn a little bit about him.
Yeah, I had him at number 2. I don't want to take everything like I did last week. I'll just touch on a couple things. 151, 21, and 9 with 101 knockouts. I believe that is the record. He once had, it might be the 27 knockouts in a row, and that was a long-standing record at the time. It still may be the record for most consecutive knockouts. Start off at featherweight, moved up to middleweight, maybe even light heavyweight. He may have even fought there, but my records show he went from featherweight to middleweight.
Yep. Featherweight to middleweight. That's what I got.
James, you want to take some of this before I hog it all?
Oh, I mean, you haven't said too much yet, so I mean, I got a lot on Mr. Hammer and Hank here.
Homicide Hank, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, some say that that this guy was from 1936 to 1940, arguably the greatest fighter on the planet. And that's a big thing to say, because you were fighting in the same time when Joe Louis was also in his prime. I have a lot more. His story to me is a lot more interesting. His background, besides, well, I mean, his 101 knockouts, that's pretty darn interesting. But I mean, he didn't even really want to be a boxer when he was young, which is kind of crazy. Like, his dream was to actually go to college, but thanks, Great Depression, he decided to stay in St. Louis and work a part-time job to help his family out, until he read something in the paper about a fighter named Kid Chocolate, who actually earned $75,000 for a single fight. I mean, y'all can guess what happened after that. He wanted to get into boxing. He had a pretty short amateur fighting background. He only had 3 amateur fights before he made his pro debut.
He ain't making no money as an amateur.
No, he's not. But it was interesting because his real name is Henry Jackson, but he fought under Melody Jackson, and he actually lost his pro debut, came back 4 days later to win his second fight by decision, which was kind of crazy. But he did end up losing the next couple of fights for him. So he had a rough beginning for it as far as that goes. But do you know the rest of the story for this one, Rich, or any more parts of this story that you want to jump in on? We can go back and forth, man.
Please do. I mean, I need to learn why I was wrong about this guy. He made my list because I just didn't know anything about him like you guys did. And
we're getting there.
Oh,
yeah. This is like a slow build up, so I'm just gonna go straight to the gut. He held 3 belts at one time, and I don't think that's ever been done. We could talk Canelo now with these middle titles and stuff like that, but he went from featherweight, skipped over lightweight, went straight to welterweight, then went back down to lightweight, held all 3 of those belts, and it was the legend has it was because Joe Louis was the most popular boxer in the world, and his promotional team, management team, whatever you want to call it, wanted to outshine Joe Louis. So they said, we're going to get 3 belts at once.
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
He was the best at those 3 weight classes simultaneously.
And he held those belts for several, like over a year. He would jump up and down in weight and defended his belts. So let me talk quickly about, I guess we'll do the lightweight fight against Lou Ambers. After, I don't know if it was a 15-round fight or whatever it was, but he was bleeding from his mouth so bad that the referee said, I am going to stop this fight if you spit blood one more time. He was advised by his corner in that round to lose the mouthpiece, and he continued to swallow his own blood for the next 6 rounds and ended up winning that fight. He also, when he skipped over, he went from featherweight to welterweight. So let me talk about the featherweight fight. I shouldn't have jumped to that lightweight. The featherweight fight. He beat a guy named P.D. Saron, something like that, who had 143 fights under his belt and only got knocked out once. That knockout was by Henry Armstrong. Then he went over to welterweight, where he fought legendary Barney Ross, beat up Barney Ross. Then the whole lightweight story I just gave to you about swallowing his own blood. You got something?
But he beat up Barney Ross so bad that Barney Ross retired after that fight. He never fought again. And that guy's a Hall of Famer.
Got something else or what? What about?
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you touched on a lot of the big points for that. I knew his story of why he was called, why he actually changed his name to Henry Armstrong, because he actually met his trainer and another mentor named Harry Armstrong at a YMCA in St. Louis before he moved to LA, and restarted his career. And he had already fought pro debuts under Jackson, so we didn't want to fight that anymore. And people were calling those 2 brothers anyway, so he changed his name to Henry Armstrong. I mean, the rest is history for that. But he actually should have been a simultaneous 4 division champion at featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, and middleweight. But he was, so the story says, he was robbed of that last fight against I don't remember.
Garcia.
That.
So if he fights Serafino Garcia in a 15-round fight, the ref calls it a draw and mysteriously disappears because it was said that he took money. It basically was a robbery. The people who were there, the sports writers, the newspapers, the majority of the people had Henry Armstrong winning his 4th belt. Now there's only 8 belts at this time, and he basically had half of them if the referee didn't take money. I don't know if there's really proof to this, but it was said that the referee disappeared and in all likelihood took money.
So was that in the time where the referee decided the winner of the fight? They didn't have judges at this point?
Ooh, that's...
I believe so. I don't know where judges came in. And I think the scoring system, because it was a draw fight. It wasn't like...
Yeah, it's a draw on points. So, I don't know if...
Yeah, it was a draw. And I think this was when there weren't... obviously there weren't 10-9 rounds. 10-9 rounds would have came in around late 70s, mid-70s, I guess. But I think this was like the 1-0, 2-1 rounds when the digits were really low. So you could see a legit draw. But according to people in attendance and the critics around the world, everyone had Henry Armstrong winning. And yeah, they gave him a draw, so he did not leave with his 4th title at once.
It's too bad we can't go back and see that fight. Because what was that? 1940? No, it was 1940. So right before that, it would have been, before TV. It's too bad. But Also, do you guys want to touch on that? He did fight Sugar Ray Robinson too. Apparently, that was an amazing fight as well. A lot of people think Sugar Ray is one of the greatest of all time, obviously. So he hasn't shown up on our list yet. I'm sure he will at some point. But maybe not. Maybe
you're fighting a young Ray Robinson when Armstrong's towards the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just spit out some numbers here and wrap up, at least on my side. 21-7-1 versus champs. 14-7 versus Hall of Famers. 65-14-2 versus top 10 opponents. 28-10-1 versus top 3 opponents. 22-3-1 with 16 knockouts in title fights. That's 19 defenses. 37 knockouts within 3 rounds. 6 knockouts in the first round, and 12-0 versus champs with 12 knockouts versus champs and 6 knockouts versus Hall of Famers. That's what I've got for Henry Armstrong.
It's nice to see that he lived a full life too, unlike some of the guys that we had on our list earlier, like Harry Greb, who died young, and some of these other guys have died young. He died in 1988 at the age of 75, and that was about the life expectancy in the 80s. So, I mean, it was nice to see that he survived it, and, because that's a lot of fights.
Henry Armstrong.
Yeah, 181 fights. That's a lot of fights. So, James, you got anything that you want to touch on last on for Henry Armstrong?
Little bit.
I know you do. Bit. I could see it. I could see it in your eyes.
From December 36th to October 1940. So when he was when some people are saying that he was the greatest fighter of that era, he was 59-1-1 with 51 knockouts. That's fairly insane for that sort of a time frame. He's also been quoted as saying, I sometimes had 3 or 4 fights a night, or 3 or 4 fights a night. I knock guys out. just nonchalant, it's just
what his job is. That's
what
his job is.
Brush yourself off, second nature, and somebody else also called him a whirlwind of a fighter, a perpetual motion machine who overwhelmed opponents with a non-stop, suffocating fuselage of punches. That speaks to me right there. So that's that's why he's at my number 3.
So yeah, Henry Armstrong makes our number 4. The Ring Magazine in 2007 had him ranked as the second number 2 of all time, just like Richie did. And ESPN in 2007 ranked him number 3 of all time, just like you did, James. And nobody ranked him 11 except me, because I was a moron, and I wish I would have got him higher. But, looking back on it, obviously I should have had him higher, but I still think that the 3 that are coming up are maybe a little higher. I don't know. They're debatable. But, Henry Armstrong's our number 4. So tune in next week, and we'll get our number 3. We're coming to our final 3 here, guys. Our top 3 starts next week. And tune in to find out who that is and learn a little something, because I learned a lot today. I hope you guys did too. All right, you guys got anything else you guys want to touch on before we sign out here?
Here's to you, Henry Armstrong.
We forgot to do the cheers to Henry Armstrong. Hell of a fighter. Skull. Yeah, I said skull. Anyway. All right. Anything you guys want to touch on before we go here?
Welcome back, basketball. Go Yankees. Got it in there.
No, I got something.
It's too bad that Rich has to end the show on mute. I mean, that just sucks for him.
Yeah, that's a bummer for you, man. No, I got something to say then. Yeah, go Loons, go Twins.
Yeah. Twinkies lost me some money tonight for entertainment purposes only, of course. No real money exchanged hands, obviously. All right, you gonna behave yourself now, Rich?
Hell, thanks. Thank you.
All right. For Filthy Rich and Judge Jimmy James, I'm Raider Live. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like the video. It really helps. Share it to your friends. Spread the news out. We have a lot of shows. We do shows every week. Film on Thursdays, release on Fridays. Until next week, we will talk to you then. Have a good one.